In my formative years as a guitarist, as I was looking to break free from my intermediate plateau, one thing I struggled with as a lead player was understanding the difference between the major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic scales. A lot of teachers told me that all I had to do to solo with the major pentatonic scale was take the same scale patterns for the minor pentatonic and shift them down 3 frets. I'm going to spend the rest of this video explaining why I think that this is terrible advice, and I'll aim to provide you with a more useful way of understanding the difference between these two scales and how to use them in your solos. If you're new here, my name is Campbell. I'm a professional guitarist and online instructor from Scotland, now living in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to my channel. In the description box beneath the video, you'll find a link to a free intermediate soloing course, so you may want to check that out if you're in need of some new practice material. So it's no secret that we guitar players love to learn, memorize, and practice scale patterns, shapes, boxes, whatever you want to call them. And that's not a bad thing. The guitar is a complex instrument to navigate, and so we do need to spend some time visualizing patterns to make sure we don't get lost on the fretboard. But if you don't eventually also learn the theory behind the scales you're practicing, you're going to fall into the same trap that almost every intermediate player falls into. That being years or potentially even decades of playing solos where you're just aimlessly wandering through those patterns and hoping that you'll magically land on notes that sound good. Those types of solos, they often end up sounding like scale pattern practice over a backing track. So this is part of the reason why I roll my eyes anytime I see a teacher telling their students that to solo with the major pentatonic scale, all they have to do is take the minor pentatonic positions and move them down 3 frets. It's a very lazy way of thinking about these scales, and something that only a guitarist would think to do. The minor pentatonic and the major pentatonic are independent scales. They are unique and they need to be treated as such if you want to be able to improvise with them all across the fretboard with confidence. As their names would suggest, the major pentatonic is best suited to chord progressions in major keys, and the minor pentatonic is best suited to chord progressions in minor keys. But that doesn't mean that you can't use both in the same solo, which is something I'll address later in this video. So the way that I like to think of pentatonic scales is that they are essentially 5-note skeletons of larger 7-note scales. The major pentatonic is a 5-note skeleton of the major scale, which has 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The major pentatonic takes the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th notes from the major scale. And the minor pentatonic is a 5-note skeleton of the natural minor scale, again, another 7-note scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The minor pentatonic takes the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th notes from the natural minor. Here's a quick example of the A major pentatonic played over a backing track in A major. Here's an example of the A minor pentatonic played over a backing track in A minor. Now let's address why it is that guitar players often treat the major pentatonic with less respect than the minor pentatonic. For a start, it's very common for most players to be taught the minor pentatonic and its positions first before they learn about the major pentatonic. And due to the fact that visually the patterns of both scales look identical on the fretboard, guitarists are often told that to play the major pentatonic, all they have to do is take their minor pentatonic positions and shift them down 3 frets. For example, here's position 1 of the A minor pentatonic, and if I move that down 3 frets, I can play the A major pentatonic scale. So it's not that that's not true. If you take all of your positions of the minor pentatonic in a particular key and you shift them down 3 frets, you will get the major pentatonic equivalent. So why then do I still think that this is terrible advice for intermediate players? Well, let's think about it. If you're tasked with playing a solo in a major key and you know that the major pentatonic is a good option, do you really want to be on stage and thinking, okay, A major pentatonic, so I need to take this position of the minor pentatonic and shift that down 3. Okay, and what if I want to play up here? Okay, so this is a minor pentatonic. So if I just take that down and then I can... Of course, you don't want to be doing that on stage. It would be much better if you could just instantly visualize the patterns of the major pentatonic scale without having to first think about your minor pentatonic patterns and going through this 2-step process of moving everything down 3 frets. So what you should be doing in your practice is practicing the positions of the major pentatonic on their own and paying attention to the location of the root notes on each string in each position. And you should also be studying the scale formula for the major pentatonic. Take the time to learn where it comes from in the major scale and put it into practice over major backing tracks. Then do the same for the minor pentatonic. Practice its positions across the fretboard. Take note of where the root notes are in each position and also study the theory behind it. Learn the scale formula, put it into practice over minor backing tracks. Now let's address the idea of using both scales in the same solo. So in the intro to the video, I played a solo over a track in the key of A major, and for most of that solo I stuck to a major tonality by crafting phrases using the A major pentatonic and A major scales. But towards the end of that solo, I did throw in some minor pentatonic notes from A minor pentatonic, which is something that you can do to add a bluesy flavor to a solo played in a major key. So let's listen to that part of the solo again. So why does that work? How is it that even though there are notes from the A minor pentatonic scale that are not naturally found within the key of A major, that I'm able to still make that scale sound good over the track? Well, throwing in some minor pentatonic vocabulary over a track in a major key is a nice way of adding some bluesy phrasing to your solos and just spicing up your lines a little bit. And the trick to making this sound good and intentional is to do so sparingly and also to resolve to a major tonality. Again, it was only towards the end of that solo that I started to throw in some A minor pentatonic phrasing in a solo that up until that point had been entirely major scale and major pentatonic based. Plus, I didn't end the solo with a minor pentatonic phrase. I made sure to resolve to more of a major tonality at the end. So if you want to start mixing minor pentatonic phrases into your major solos, I would advise that you do it sparingly and also that you resolve to a major sound after you've played some minor pentatonic bass lines. If you want to learn more about improvising solos in major keys, click the link beneath the video to get free lifetime access to my new intermediate soloing course, Melodic Soloing with Triads. This course, it teaches you how to ditch your stale, repetitive licks and start playing solos that ooze melody and feel, and it is perfect for the type of intermediate guitarist who has been stuck in a soloing rut for years and is tired of making no progress. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.